Welcome to the official podcast of PHP Architect. Join us to listen to the latest news and tech talk from our conferences, the magazine, and wider PHP community.
You're listening to the PHP Podcast, episode 23.3.1, bringing you the latest insights into the PHP Architect magazine, conferences, and so much more. I'm your host, John Congdon, and with me is my friend and business partner, Eric Van Johnson.
Hello.
Man, I'm starting to like this. It's starting to gel and come together.
We got matching hats now. Look at us, man. Look like we're a team.
Mine seems darker, but I think you just have better lighting.
Yeah. No, I think your lighting's better, but yeah, I think you're right. Mine's a little bright. How's it going, John?
It is going. We have got so much going on with the company. We do to a fault. We share too much information, but
yeah, probably a little.
But I like that. I like that we share.
Yeah,
things that are going on, business wise, and just with us in general.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, how have you been doing?
I feel like I just talked to you about this, but I've been doing well. I was really, really excited about tech. I've been real happy with the ticket sales. I mean, obviously, you want to sell out, right? I mean, that's always kind of one of the goals, but it was good to see people were still interested in going to conferences, or interested again in going to conferences, I guess is a better way of putting it. So excited about that. We got some new sponsors for the conference. That's exciting.
We'll talk about that soon, for sure.
That's all. Yeah, it's just everything's happening. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the business and how things have been going there, because I could tell you, I've been stressed for the past couple of weeks. Extremely
just
stressed.
The past couple of weeks.
well, longer. I mean, we've talked about the struggles in the past with getting the magazine out the door. We strive to get it out early in the month, and there's no exact time frame. There's nothing on the site that says we release on the 1st or the 5th of every month. It's just a monthly magazine. But when we get this late in the month and it's not released yet, it's stressful. And we are a community magazine, right? We're not professionals. We didn't go to school for this. So having deadlines for people and enforcing them is really tricky, especially when they're not your employees. It's not like you can,
and they have real jobs and everybody's busy and working.
You can't crack the whip and say, "You get it to us now." All we can do is beg and plead, which we do
pretty much
a really good job at.
Yeah.
So there's a combination of things. We got like a handful of, or 2 or 3 of the articles super late this month, which is unusual. Usually they're not that late, but we had a few super late. And I think we're going to talk about Joe Ferguson had something come up work-wise, so he had to step away for 2 or 3 months. So we got somebody to fill in his shoes, and friend of the show, Ben Ramsey, is giving us a couple of articles, and this month is just his workflow and what he uses, and just kind of almost like a little insight into Ben, which is always fun to read.
Exactly. Yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing how other people get their job done, and I almost always learn like a new tool or a new trick that I can apply to my own personal workflow.
Right, because it's not as, you can't just say I write PHP code, because people use different IDEs, different services. Like what you use for code deployment may be different than what I use, and so it's interesting to see how other people do things, and then take it with a grain of salt. It works for them. Is it something you want to try?
A weird side effect for me for being this intimate with the magazine now is seeing everything before we release it, because I overshare and I like see these articles and I just want to start talking about it. Like I had already tweeted about one or two. I tweeted about 2 columns.
I know. Finally, you
finally,
mentioned.
and the FFI one, which I was really kind of taken back on how good that article was, and really kind of opened up my eyes a little bit on how you can actually use the new PHP FFI. I forget what FFI stands for now. Do you remember something interface?
No, I don't. I'm not even gonna guess because I'm gonna be way wrong.
Yeah, so it's basically, if you're not familiar with it, it's essentially allowing your PHP application to interface with other applications that aren't PHP, so that you can have like a C app out there or a Python app out there. The one example that they use in the article is this application called DuckDB, and using that with PHP, even though it's not designed to work with PHP. Man, I'm like, wow, this really kind of seems like it has a lot of possibilities and things you can do with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a good one. So but yeah, I overshare. I read those things and immediately I want to start talking about them, and it's very difficult for me. And I've got to remember. I'm like, have we released this one yet? Has this actually been published?
There's nothing wrong with building a little excitement around it, but I want to finish my thought process on the stress behind it of trying to get the magazine out. Not only did we get columns submitted to us late, it once we get them, it takes time to proofread them, lay them out. There's so much that goes into it. On top of that, the weather here in California has been absolutely trash the past few weeks. On top of that, my kids being sick, me being sick, my wife being sick, and again, we're a very small company. My wife does a majority of the proofreading and laying out. Uh, I do the finalizing of the magazine. You do the cover work, uh, the images. You do a lot of. You become a graphic designer. Who would have thought?
That's a terrifying thing to say.
But I say, hey, I need an image here, and you give me one. And I'm like, hey, is this Creative Commons? Like, is it okay to use? And you're like, I created it. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess it's safe to use. So,
Yeah.
bottom line, March is out finally, and we're almost ahead of the game for April. So we think that will come out relatively quickly, for better or
April's a
worse.
big one for anybody attending tech. Oh wait, are we sharing that? I'm oversharing again.
Always oversharing. Too late. You've started. Now you have to finish.
For anybody attending tech, there's all sorts of fun things we have planned for the swag bag. I think if you purchase a ticket, you already know what a couple of the things are, like the T-shirt and other gifts. But the April magazine will be in your swag bag as well. A print edition of the April magazine is what we're targeting.
My poor printer. I don't know how it's going to keep up.
It's going to be a lot of. It's that whole dot matrix, man. That's going to be a lot of. I don't know.
I really like the quality of the magazine that's printed. So I'm hoping, letting people have a copy of it and feel it, and like they'll just say, "Oh yeah, remember having a magazine is so nice."
Anybody knows us knows that John and I have other podcasts. So I shared on the other podcasts that I went to a conference here in California called SCALE, which stands for Southern California Linux Expo. It's a long-running conference here. Whenever I go to things like that, I always carry copies of the magazine with me because I'm very proud of it. And if anybody asks, I like to share, show them what we do. And of course, I'm at SCALE and I'm talking to people, and they ask, and eventually, I'm like, yeah, I'm with PHP Architect, and I pull out a magazine and I show them, and they're looking at it. Like, so many of them like kept it. I'm like, you're okay. You're going to keep that? Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, you keep it. Meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, that's a collector's item. You better take care of it.
I don't have that issue anymore. That's like my issue number 1.
Exactly. So I handed out a lot of PHP Architect magazines at SCALE.
Should have let me know. I think we have a whole box full in the storage unit.
Yeah, I'm sure we can get rid of them eventually.
although they are older, not
Mm.
as relevant.
They're not of our generation. We didn't create those.
That is true. Uh, Speaking of tech, if you are listening and would like a discount to attend, we are offering listeners of the PHP podcast $100 off to join us in Chicago. Just use your little camera thingy and take a picture of that. Yeah. Because I don't have
That's
any other way to. What's
Is
that?
that all it takes? Is that all it takes? Just take a picture of it?
Yeah, because long story, there's nowhere to put a discount code into the checkout flow. So I can't say, oh, use discount code X. You have to use the link. But
Ah,
I don't want you to type out
interesting.
the whole link. So there's a QR code. Just follow that.
I like it, man.
Yeah,
I
we'll have
like it.
to discuss that later. So yeah, we super excited about tech coming up. It's only what 50 some days away.
So I mean, I was sharing with you, April's our last. Well, ideally, we'll have May release before we actually go to tech, but I don't know, man. It's very close. It's much closer. It's just like coming at you like a train. I'm excited.
53 days from today is
Yeah.
is the date. Still so much to figure out, so much to do, but we'll get there. I spent a lot of time today just reaching out to PHP companies in the Ohio area this time, just finding Ohio PHP developers and trying to, hey, PHP tech's, you know, in your backyard, basically. You should come out and join us.
Right. Right. You mentioned how we're really a community focused publication,
Hmm.
and recently we've started user groups up again.
Hmm.
Um, that's been fun. You and I have both presented. We've had a couple of meetups, and you and I have both presented. I'm just curious, like, if you're watching this, or not curious. I guess curious is the wrong word. Encourage. I want to encourage. If you have user groups, local user groups, or if you had a local user group before the pandemic and you don't now, maybe it's time to start one back up. Obviously, whatever your kind of health and safety
Protocols.
things are, protocols, yeah, are definitely want you to make sure you take care of yourself and your family. But if there's an opportunity to start meeting in person again, I just forget how much I enjoy that.
Hmm.
It was such a pleasure to get with people and hang out with them and just talk PHP and relax and joke and all that. Have some
Yeah.
pizza.
And it's been much smaller uh, than it used to be, but we're also hosting in a different location. There's the whole pandemic thing that's happened. But it has been nice just sitting down, and the editorial in this month's magazine kind of focuses around the fact that we restarted the meetup and
Mm.
what presenting to a meetup, a conference, or your coworkers, what that can mean. Uh, I learn more by sharing information. If I know I'm going to share information with other people, I'm going to sit down and learn more about it. So I try to be ready for questions, but be honest. When somebody asks you a question you don't have an answer, it's okay to say I don't know. Let me figure it out, or let's have a discussion. That's a lot of the fun of a meetup is just the discussions with whoever's presenting and having a back and forth discussing what they presented on.
Mm.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. All right. What else you got? You want to talk about sponsors?
Yeah, you do that. There was something else I was going to bring up there, and I forgot what it was. So as you're talking about sponsors, maybe I'll think about it.
Okay. So we do have some sponsors at Tech. We're hoping to get more. We're actually kind of in flight with a few other people. One, I'm excited about all of them, but there's one in particular I'm very excited about. But InfoBip is a gold sponsor. I think we'd already talked about Phone Burner. Platform
Mhm.
SH, I don't think they were on board the last time we recorded. They are now a bronze sponsor. We're very excited about them. And then OSMI and Laravel were like two of the first sponsors of Tex, so they are still with us, believe it or not.
And like you said, lots of other pokers in the fire, or whatever that statement
Fires,
is.
coals in the fire. Yeah. I
Yeah.
know exactly. Yeah, it's again, knowing me, I overshare. I hate the whole teasing aspect of marketing. I don't like the whole teasing piece. But this is not teasing. This is we don't have contracts in place, so we can't discuss yet. But
Right. Just
some good ones.
those little things.
Yeah, all the legalities of it.
Yeah, that's part of the pain in the butt with running a business, is dealing with all of that. It's like, I just want to do the work. That's all I care about. Oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. The team I work on, so we do consulting work for other companies, and oftentimes we kind of get embedded into another company's team. And that's kind of where I'm at with PHP Architect. I'm kind of embedded on one of our clients' teams. So they have a larger team, like 12, 13 devs, and I'm one of them. And if you want an idea of how to use our magazine, start a book club. We do it twice a month, the first and third Monday of the month. The whole group gets together in Zoom. We have pre-selected one article out of one of the magazines around that time, and just have a discussion, like a deep dive discussion into that article. Get to talk about the pros and cons, what you liked and didn't like about the author's take, because the author is just presenting their viewpoint, right? It doesn't mean it's gospel. It could be, you can say, I disagree with them here, or I agree with them there. But having that conversation starter is so nice. And being able to then take whatever that subject matter is and discuss it in the terms of your specific project. So our most recent one was, we talked about microservices from Chris Tankersley's articles, and it turned into such a good conversation. Highly encourage, take this magazine, start a quote unquote book club. We call it Mag Club, just to have discussions. It also gets your mind away from, the grind for 30 to 60 minutes.
Yeah. Can I share my user group hack too?
Of course.
we actually had this conversation before
Last night.
and I had mentioned that the magazine, I talked earlier about user groups. If you have one, attend it. If you don't, maybe think about starting one. If you had one before, maybe try to get it going again. But one of the biggest challenges of user groups is to find speakers and find topics, or maybe find topics and find speakers. I don't care. They're both difficult. But we make that a little easier, because you can pick up any edition of PHP Architect and get a presentation out of it. Like, there's almost one written for you in the magazine. And so again, maybe it's a topic you're not completely familiar with or not completely comfortable with. You read the article, kind of gets the brain going, and perhaps you do a little bit more research, you lay it out in a nice presentation, you're up and running in very little time, I feel.
And be clear, we're not saying plagiarize what the authors have written. It's take that information in, apply it somehow, create a presentation around it.
Or plagiarize. I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm sure the authors would love that.
You brought up something. I don't know if we've shared with people, or if people are familiar with this, and I might be actually wrong, but you and we had a company before PHP Architect, before we started running PHP Architect. It was a consulting company, and that's all we did. That's how we made money. When we started running PHP Architect, we made the business decision to merge the consulting company into PHP Architect.
Which
so
I'm regretting.
if I'm not, we will dive deeper into that in a minute. But if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time PHP Architect actually has a consulting group attached to it.
So this goes back to what I mean by I kind of regret it. Um, I love being PHP architect. There's no two ways about it. But we didn't have to create its own LLC and then move everything from one LLC to the other. PHP architect could have and probably should have been just a DBA of Diego Dev. So you were still a PHP architect employee. There's just not a separate company. And all the hoops that we had to jump through with bank accounts and switching insurance, our health insurance for the employees, moving the employees, all that went into that probably didn't have to happen in hindsight. And I wish I would have talked to somebody prior to making that decision.
So is that why you kind of regret it, because we had to go through all that?
Yeah, it's just the time, money, uh, and stress part that took place over a few months, and certain little things that get missed. Like just this past week, I realized, oh, I never moved our business insurance from the old company to the new company. So now I'm on the phone with them, like, hey, I need to change our FEIN and our business name. Like, well, we need to cancel the old policy and start you up a new policy. Okay,
Which
so
drives you crazy, man. Why
so an
is it like that?
so we start down that process of going through the application, and then they say, do you have any tangible goods that you sell? Yes, because I'm thinking the elephants, which is such a small, like, non thing of the company. Like, there's no real revenue,
It kind
nothing to claim,
Kind of
nothing to
embarrassing
insure.
to call a tangible good. Yeah, we sell plushy elephants. Yeah, that's our
Right. So
tangible good.
so they she starts asking me all these questions, and it's like every question answering correctly or truthfully, there's like, oh, now I got all these other questions I got to ask. I'm like, I wish I would have just said no from the beginning. Like, I don't feel like I need insurance around these things. It's like I need insurance around the business part of it.
So you regret it because it was work. Is that what
Yes.
I'm hearing? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It was. I think, again, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a business person outside of owning two businesses right now. I don't know that it was necessary. A DBA would have gotten us the same thing. We could have told people that we were PHP architect, because we would be. We could have payments to PHP architect. It just wouldn't have been separate.
So what's stopping us from flipping the script and say we DBA as Diego Dev and keep all the existing insurances and policies we have?
It's too late. Everything's pretty much moved at this
Oh,
point.
damn it. You should have consulted me.
And it wouldn't have worked that way because PHP Architect LLC is a different FEIN, and that's what everything seems to use as their benchmark. Like,
Gotcha.
once you have, if you switch FEINs, then, which is Federal Employee Identification Number, uh, it's like your social security number, but for a business. Once you switch that, it's like, oh, you're not the same company, you're completely different. So we have to shut down the old one, start up a new one for whatever it is. Payroll was one of them, insurance. Running a company is fun.
No, it's done now. So until you
That I don't.
realize the other thing you forgot to change.
It's that, and there's still the fact that the old company is still around because we didn't do it before the end of the year.
Right.
So there's still taxes involved there. There's still bank accounts because I don't want to shut those down yet. It's just like there's this and this and this, and it's just like, where does it stop?
Yeah.
And I don't want to think about it till after tech.
Yeah. I don't think about anything to after tech right now. I'm so laser focused on tech. So yeah. I get you.
All right. Well,
That
I
was
don't
probably a little
have.
bit more inside baseball than people care to hear.
Well, we do say bringing you the latest insights into the PHP Architect Magazine conference and more. That more being the actual business itself.
The joys and challenges that John and I have.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy. I tell you what, I can't. I think I'm the happiest I've ever been. I like being PHP architect, and it's so much work. It's so much work. I don't mean to keep bitching about it. We're not bitching. I don't want anybody to think we're bitching about it. It's just there's just a lot of work, but it's so satisfying. It's
Mm-hmm.
so much fun. I enjoy it very much.
I like
But
what you were. Go ahead.
good.
No, you
I was gonna
first.
say I can't stress to you enough how absolutely taken back I am with Oscar and how Oscar managed to do this for so long.
I just switched
Every
over
month
to
I think about that.
I switched over to Discord to share that. Like, I like what you wrote to him is because it's true. He did so much, and I think he did it all 100% himself.
I think
And
so,
here we
yeah.
are. We've got me, you, and my wife doing all the same work that he did, and still can't get it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Very much.
he's still. So when we get a rough draft done before we release it to everybody, we send it out to our writers, and Oscar is one of the writers. And every single time where I think, okay, I've gone through and I found the things he would find, he finds 10 other things. He's like, oh, you didn't do this, and this is wrong, and oh, you should capitalize this. And it's like, how do you do this so quick?
So quick. And after he points it out, it seems so obvious. Like, how did we miss that? Like, what is your trick? How do you see it?
Well, it doesn't help that we have been so late. So we're like, all right, just get it done and get it out. Get it done and get it out. Right. That's kind of been the mantra the past 4 months, where it's like, we need to get this done as quick as we can because it's getting so late in the month. I'm hoping we turn a corner here and have that a little more time where we can spend an extra day or two with us going through it with a fine-tooth comb, and not like, I mean, outsourcing it's fine to the columnists. They do an awesome job as well.
Especially Oscar.
Yes.
I look forward to Oscar's feedback. Like, if we don't hear from Oscar, I'm like, maybe we shouldn't release yet. Wait until we hear something from Oscar. Like, it's not that easy.
There will be one day where we get one out and he's like, "Well, it looks good. Don't change anything." I look forward to that day.
All right.
All
what
right.
do you think?
I think that's a good one. We're good.
Cool, man.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. Until next time, keep listening. Keep coding.
Keep coding.
And keep reading.
reading.
PHP Podcast, the official podcast of PHP Architect, the industry's leading tech magazine and publisher, focused on PHP and web development. Subscribe today at phparch.social to see what the leaders in the community and industry are talking about.